Good afternoon. Welcome. I'm Doyle Jelsing with the Kanabec County Economic Development, and we are particularly excited to be hosting this, our third annual event, on the subject of childcare and providing childcare. This subject was picked as one of our strategic goals for 2019, and it was picked because every business, including the childcare business and home businesses, are important to our economy in Kanabec County. And the secondary effect is the lack of it affects every other business in Kanabec County. And we're going to have that demonstrated to us, and we're going to talk about that in our introduction. This seminar is centered in Vasilopet Week, so that we also give some exposure to the Vasilopet, and those that are local residents, I think, are fairly familiar with it. Right now, the quick update is that there are 1,200 people registered for events over the next 2 days, on Saturday and Sunday, and that includes 1,000 skiers for Saturday. So we are rebuilding the participation in the skiing event as we go along. Not to do an overly Vasilopet promo, but the reason that it's being built back up again is they invested in snowmaking equipment so that they can always have a race. And so you can pass that along, that there was a commitment to do that. And once that has happened, I think it cut down to about 800, and now we're up to 1,000. And the goal is to get back to the 1,400 or 1,500 number that we had several years ago. Back to the conference. Thanks to the planning committee for putting this together. And that included not only members from the Economic Development Committee, but members from the child care profession as well. This planning committee included a lot of work from that group as well. We want to thank the sponsors, and including the sponsors are on the back of the program, but we also have ECE as a last-minute sponsor. So we want to thank the sponsors, and most of them have booths or tables, and so please, probably during the lunch break or whatever, take a gander, please. And then the most special thanks to the providers, assistants, and helpers that are here today. You're extremely, extremely important to us. You will recognize a provider because they're wearing a corsage they have on. And we ask the providers to please stay to the end of the conference because there's a recognition and an event at the very end. So please stay through to the 8 o'clock time. I'm going to start the conference with first, Amy Klobuchar has usually sent a video. She's a little bit busy right now. But she did send a letter, and so I'd like to read that letter. Dear friends, thank you for the invitation to join at your third annual Economic Development Conference. Since 2015, the Kanabec County Economic Development Authority has promoted commercial and industrial growth in the region by providing businesses with educational and networking opportunities. This year's conference focuses on a problem that affects businesses and employees alike: limited child care availability and the high cost force talented Minnesotans to make difficult decisions about whether it's more financially effective to remain in or exist in the workforce. As a mom, I understand this struggle. At the same time, you have employers who have available jobs but no workers to fill them, and that puts a strain on our economic growth. During my time in the Senate, I have introduced legislation to address the shortages of affordable, qualified child care professionals in Minnesota, particularly in Greater Minnesota. My bill, the Child Care Workforce and Facilities Act, would provide states with competitive grants to support the education and training of the child care workforce. Grant applicants would be required to address how their projects would increase the affordability, availability, and quality of childcare, including non-traditional hours. It's going to take all of us working together to find a solution. Together we can make childcare more accessible. Thank you again for the invitation, and I look forward to working with you towards building a stronger Minnesota. I am honored to serve you in the United States Senate. Sincerely, Amy Klobuchar. Oh. This region is not just Kanabec County, although it is just as important here as it is in any other of the Minnesota rural areas. And to that extent, there was a clip that was played on KARE 11 that we would like to show at this point.
Good stuff.
On this snowy day, Courtney Rowe is staying home with her 1-year-old son, but it's not a choice.
So I started out as a licensed hairstylist, and that kind of all went out the window when we had a baby.
Went out the window because it didn't add up. According to the Economic Policy Institute, the average cost of infant care at daycare centers in Minnesota is over $1,300 a month. In-home child care is closer to $700 a month.
It was shocking. When we sat down and did the math, most of the time I would be breaking even about, but if I had a slow week, if it was a slow time of the year, I would actually be losing money going to work. So, oh no, yeah, we don't like that.
Why is childcare in Minnesota so expensive?
Minnesota is an outlier in big part because we have higher standards than most states.
Chad Dunkley is the CEO of New Horizon Academy. Those standards he's talking about include a ratio requiring centers in Minnesota to have 1 teacher for every 4 infants. It's meant to keep kids safe, but it also keeps costs high.
You can't get around it. I mean, with the small ratios, if you have a 5th baby start in your program, you need a 2nd teacher. And so because it's so labor intensive, there aren't really cost savings that you can find. There's no way to outsource it. There's no way to make that cheaper.
There is a way, but it would mean cutting salaries for daycare teachers who are already making little. A big reason the less expensive in-home providers across the state are closing, creating shortages felt hardest by people in greater Minnesota, where the Center for Rural Policy and Development says there are not spots available for more than half the people who need childcare in northeastern Minnesota.
Did you have any idea it was going to be that hard to find daycare?
No.
Eric Forsman is a dad and Duluth City Councilor and decided to do something about the problem he was experiencing firsthand.
The City of Duluth, in partnership with an organization called the 1200 Fund, has dedicated $500,000 of financing to just childcare within the City of Duluth to try to incentivize more spots to be opened up.
And what about the staggering costs for parents? Dunkley has an idea.
The government needs to intervene. There's a broken economic model.
This one?
The questions Courtney has are about her future.
Being with my kid is fantastic, but you know, your first kind of love in life is your career, and to give it up, whether it's permanently or for a period of time, it's difficult. So we'll see.
Those are hard truths that I've heard a lot of my friends have to talk about as well. You know, we talk about like a parent just like you can make it work or women can have both, but sometimes you can't.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do? That's a mortgage payment for some people, right? For just one kid.
Yeah.
One kid. And you pointed out that's an average, that $1,300 a month. So here in the Twin Cities can be a little bit north of that as well.
Yeah, we have co-workers here with 2, 3 kids. I just can't fathom that.
I know, me either.
Yeah.
We have our 1, so we're just making do with that right now.
And
so,
you were saying it's a lot harder in Duluth, as you point out.
Yeah, I was pregnant with our first. We lived in Duluth. We put our name on a waiting list when I was 8 weeks pregnant. I didn't start hearing back from those daycare centers until my daughter was 6 months old. So more than a year on those waiting lists.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Yeah.